Hi, I'm joined by Dr. Spike Briggs from Medical Support Offshore, based in Southampton, providers of medical equipment, medical training, and telemed offshore support services. Spike, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Paul.
We're going to go in this session, we're going to go through the equipment or medical kit that you might have on board in order to respond to some of the incidents that might happen in terms of trauma or illness whilst you're sailing across oceans. My first question for Spike is, planning out this from a real general point of view, how would you structure what themes or functions to have in any offshore medical kit?
Well, I think to start with, a kit needs to be properly constructed, properly arranged in a modular kind of fashion, like you see in front of you here, just to make it reasonably kind of intuitive to use. Because trying to find medications in the middle of the night in bad weather when an emergency has happened is not an easy task. And I've done this myself in the Southern Ocean, so I know it's not particularly easy. And so trying to make it as intuitive and clearly laid out as possible in a functional kind of modular fashion is definitely the way to go. And having a clear list, reference list of what's in the kit and where it is also very important as well.
And each of your modules there are representing some different need that you might have on board. And if you modulise it, then you can find that and respond quicker if you need to. And also probably maintaining that inventory of kit is easier to do if you've got it in modules.
Yeah, exactly right. So basically, I think any kind of supply. So certainly the kits that we supply, we always keep a very full inventory on our management system about what we've supplied. So data, expiry dates and batch numbers and things like that. So it's very important that any supplier does that to make sure that they're fully aware of the state of a kit. And in terms of the modularity, naming the modules in just like in a normal kind of common sense manner is a good thing to do. So like first aid or painkillers, analgesics, gut and seasickness or skin repair. So for people who aren't particularly familiar with the kit, have some kind of idea from the name of the module about what's going to be in it. If they're looking for something for skin repair, they just go to skin repair. But what I would say is that if you have a medical kit on board, having some kind of training or familiarity with it is going to be really, really important. So from our telemed service that we provide, it's very clear when we're dealing with a medical problem offshore, crew who have undertaken training and know the medical kit, and they find things much quicker than people who get very, very frustrated when they can't find things because they haven't had any training or not undertaken any training or undertaken any kind of kit familiarization. Because no matter how well a kit is set out, you still need to go through it.
We talked about familiarity with the kit, and of course that just means that when you're searching for the items, it's not in the time of trauma when you're having to respond to something. That probably applies to all the crew as much as just one person on board the crew. Getting the kit out on the cockpit table or down below and just going through each item and discussing what you've got so anybody could respond with finding that kit in the time of need.
Yeah, it'd take less than half a day to do that with the entire crew. But you make a very, very good point that that there should be more than one person on board who's familiar with the kit about where things are. So a minimum of two, but preferably everybody.
So Spike, could you just talk through some of the things that you would include in a ocean medical kit and maybe just base it on what you provide to your MS West customers?
So as you can see on your screen now, this is the layout of a distant ocean medical kit. And you can see on the left-hand side there's the grab bag, and then on the right-hand side there's the contents of the main bag. So in the grab bag, you've got modules and then the content, which gives you an idea about the functionality of the content. What you actually put in to cover that functionality is entirely up to the crew or your medical supplier. So on the grab bag side of things, as I said previously, it's designed to provide the medical items that you may need, both in terms of equipment and medicines that you might need if you're getting off the boat in a hurry into a life raft. So we've got 4 modules in the grab bag. So first aid, analgesics, which are painkillers, skin repair, and an eyes, mouth, skin. And you can see there the functionality of each module. Of course, the grab bag, you may use that on board the vessel as well. So it's not just for use in a life raft. It's an integral part of the overall medical kit. In the main bag, you can see we've got emergency allergy, antibiotics, gut and seasickness, more gut and seasickness tablets there, dressings and splints and equipment. And you can see there that it gives you an idea about the functionality of each module.
So these kits are obviously well thought through. If you were trying to put one of these kits together for yourself, what are the considerations that you'd recommend people thought about?
Well, this is a distant ocean medical kit. So this is something that we designed for private vessels, so non-commercial, so private vessels venturing beyond helicopter range, so transocean, and it's been used for many transocean voyages, both going across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean, and then through the Canal, and then Pacific as well, and so completely around the world. And it's been used many times for that, and performed very well. The origins of the kits really are from the Maritime Coast Guard Agency Merchant Shipping Notice 1905. So those regulations dictate what is required in commercial kits, and they're very large, very expensive. And so the near ocean and distant ocean medical kits were a synthesis of those regulations, just keeping the stuff that's actually used more frequently to make it more affordable and not quite so big. So this is like distant ocean medical kits, about half the size of a basic Category A MCA kit.
And if you are assembling medical kits, what are the considerations or challenges of putting all those items together, maybe in terms of access to some of the drugs that you might want in your kit, or the country that you're trying to do that in versus your own, maybe language and things like that?
Well, certainly language is a very important thing, because all medicines come in a package with a description of the patient leaflet inside, patient information leaflet inside them, which obviously all the stuff that we supply is in English, but there are plenty of other suppliers around the world, so you need to pick out the one that you feel most comfortable with. The various different countries have different regulations about the supply of medicines. So certainly for vessels in the UK with a qualified captain on board, then there's an exemption to be able to supply them with a medical kit, including prescription and controlled drugs.
For your customers, you maintain an inventory and help them replenish the items in their kits when they reach expiry date. But what would be your considerations and recommendations to somebody who's trying to maintain their own kit? Maybe as they're going on the round the world trip or going on an Atlantic circuit, where they're not going to be in their home country in order to replenish the kit or to replace items that might have expired.
Okay, so items that might have expired or been used, of course. Well, first of all, if you manage your own kit, I mean, we keep for all our clients, we keep a medical inventory on our management system, and that includes all the expiry dates and all the batch numbers, all the quantities and when it was supplied and everything. So if you're managing your own kit, you really should keep a check of all that. You could just have it on a spreadsheet, but then you need to keep it up to date. So the expiry dates, I mean, drugs don't just stop working on the date of an expiry date, but they have a decline in efficacy all the time from the time of supply. So it's a kind of like a bit of a line drawn in the sand by the manufacturers, but probably worthwhile sticking to. Apart from anything, a medical kit is supposed to be stored at a certain kind of temperature, so like 8 to 25 centigrade is the ideal, with a certain amount of maximum humidity. Now, of course, on a vessel, that's actually quite difficult to do all the time. So medicines, if they're not stored properly, won't maintain their efficacy quite as well. So following expiry date is probably not such a bad thing to do, even though it costs you money to be able to do that. Because if you're going to use a drug, you want it to be able to work. In terms of replenishment around the world, if you replenish here in the UK, all the medicines are going to be in English, but in other places, all the patient information leaflets and doses, everything like that, are going to be in whichever the local language is, which is fine as long as you can read that language. The other big problem, of course, is fraudulent drugs, and that is a massive industry worldwide. And we come across medicines sometimes that clients have obtained elsewhere, which we have severe doubts about their efficacy, particularly with antibiotics, where we've had clients using locally obtained antibiotics, and people have just been getting worse, and they've changed to antibiotics that we've supplied from the UK, and things have got markedly better.
Spike, thanks so much. That's been a really good roundup of the kit and equipment that you should have on board in your medical kit in order to deal with eventualities on board, either injuries or illness related. It's really important that if you've got the kit on board, that it's not just fix and forget, that you become really familiar with the kit itself, you know where it is, and all your crew members also are really familiar with that as well. And to maximise the training you can have in advance, so that in the unlikely event a serious thing happened, you could be better prepared to deal with that. And for the day-to-day illnesses that might happen on board, you're familiar with what can be done.